So the last question of today is from Dave here, and he's wondering about learning experiences.
Yeah, so I'm doing a little talk today with some people at work based on a presentation that we saw, and I just wanted to get your input on it. So it's I'm a learning professional, as you know, and I was just wondering, what do you know about the learners of today, if you could sort of sum it up, that should be considered when designing learning products that hasn't been done in the past, or just based on.
I think the fundamentals are same as other kind of engagement design. Focus on right brain designs first. So core drive 357, giving people meaningful choice, self-expression, make things more social in terms of people feel socially connected, related, group competition. So collaboration is white hat, competition is black hat. So group competition is a balance. And then I think, especially for learning, core drive 7, unpredictable and curiosity should be there. And it's not easy to do, but there should always be like delightful surprise. This is what TikTok runs on, right? This is like surprise after surprise after surprise after surprise after surprise. And people just like, oh, let me check out TikTok before I go to bed. Just maybe one 10-second video. And then it's like, oh, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and it's late. So I think when they say that people have short attention spans, like a goldfish, that's actually not true. People are just more selective before they want to commit. The new generation, they can watch Avengers Endgame, a 4-hour movie. Okay. And they're not like, I can't stand it. It's been like 5 minutes into the movie. I have to look at my phone. No, they watch the whole movie, 4 hours. But because it's like they value their time more, because they know there's so many things they can be watching at this very moment. If they look at your stuff and it's like 7 seconds, 5 seconds go past, like, no, this is not it. They switch, they go somewhere else. Or they go to the ending of a video. It's like, I think it's just going to say wrap goodbye, wrap up, whatever. Like, I already know what's going to happen. Like, there's no CD7 anymore. I already know what's going to happen. They're going to do their goodbye thing, and they jump and move to another video. So a lot of education programs, it's basically like, do this really boring thing. And if you do this boring thing a lot, you'll get rewarded. You'll get, a grade basically. So a lot of it's black hat too. But if you make it more like it's expansive, it's growth, there's more meaningful choice. You can choose your journey and how do you want to learn, just like an in-game character, choose how you want to grow, depending on what kind of learning experience you have, because sometimes at the end, everyone just has to learn the exact same thing. But the more meaningful choices you give them, the more self-expression, the better. But the content, so the biggest thing is still the content. If the content's interesting, the person that's doing the video, it has like a lot of B-rolls, a lot of switching around scenes and all that stuff. That's the most important. The Khan Academy actually picked up really well because generally the content itself is really good. I have friends who majored in history, and once they graduate college, they're like, okay, I'm never ever going to touch math in my life. I hated it. It was torture. And they went on Khan Academy and they're like, oh, wow, I suddenly got really interested in advanced math. I never thought I would be interested in that. It's because the instructor, the content was fun and interesting. And the content had a lot of unpredictable curiosity. It had a lot of distraction side. And those meme videos on YouTube, like go to YouTube and learn about content, because that's what the YouTubers do as a profession. They learn how to grab people's attention. So they'll have 1 or 2 sentences, but the 1 or 2 sentences, they'll have a lot of switching to another scene and show a meme. And in the middle, they'll show like 5 people say, what? That's right, I said it, what? And then, they just show like 5 like random people saying, what? And then it's just like, it's very interruptive, but it keeps their attention like, oh, it keeps it exciting. So that's frankly a lot of fun. And you don't want to also gauge, because you're talking about the new learners, but it's a huge difference between, are people there because they want to learn the material, or are people there because they are forced to be there? Very different, right? Adult learning, most people go back because they actually they see the value of the education. They want to apply their learning and do well. So they actually want to pay attention and do things. For children going to school, they're not really, they don't want to be there if they didn't have to, right? If a grown-up isn't forcing them there, or teacher, they wouldn't want to be there. I don't think anyone's forcing you guys to be here, right? So, but if you were like middle school kids, I mean, if it's like, yeah, you can come, but you don't have to, it's up to you. They're like, gone, right? So So when it's that mode, you definitely need a lot more like unpredictability and entertaining them and assuming this is like gamification, right? You assume they don't have motivation and you try to build motivation through your experience. Whereas function-focused design is that you assume they have motivation and you optimize for efficiency, because with gamified experience, you lose efficiency, right? By having all these memes and disruptions, you actually can cover less content, but the result is that people actually listen to the end. But if people are actually focused and serious, they might even feel like, oh, why are you not covering more content? I want to learn more. So those are important things to think about. Stick with the right brain first, right brain core to 357. Oh, epic meaning calling is so important. So most people don't know why they're learning what they're learning. And I have some talks about that in terms of, I might have shared this many times, but in college, I took a class, Physiological Science 5. So that's like health class, basically. And I took it because I heard everyone said it was an easy A, and I wanted a good grade because I was running a business and I don't want stressful classes. So I took the class, and on day one, the professor said, the first thing he said was, this is going to be the most important class you take at UCLA. And it was like, what is he talking about? This is not even our major. This is not even like it's like a side elective. And he says, because nothing is as important as your health. And since this is not your major, this is going to be the only class you take at UCLA that teaches you how to, protect your health. And it was like, oh, wow, this is serious. And people paid attention more. They actually understood why they're taking the class. And even this week, I made eating decisions based on what I learned in that class from, I don't know, 20 years ago. Yeah, about 20 years ago. So I think you want to continue to reinforce why they're learning it. Sometimes at the beginning, you'll communicate that, but they'll always forget in the middle. The middle, when you're deep in the trenches, the instructor forgets to mention it, the students forget about it. And so it's important to constantly say, hey, look, this, what you just learned here could be used to do this. This actually, what you learned here actually solved the problem that the whole world was stuck on, and it did this. So people eventually see why they're learning something. And I have other examples where we have kids who are applying for Harvard, Stanford, know all the details, but they had no idea why they're learning math. They thought math is just to prove you're smart. And they were really surprised when I said, yeah, if you want to be an accountant, economist, scientist, you need to use math. Like, really? That's crazy. Right? I never thought about that, because they just thought studying math is to get into Harvard, and Harvard's to get a good job, but the learning doesn't matter at all. So yeah, I think epic medium calling, again, core drives 1, 3, 5, 7 foundation. Once you do those things well, you obviously want to continue to have core drive 2 development accomplish. They feel growth, they feel improvement, they feel wins. That's very important. Progress. I think there's too many learning programs where you actually don't feel like you're improving, and it just keeps moving forward. And also the test systems, like when you do a boss fight in a game, you challenge the boss when you feel like you're ready. You've learned all the things you need to learn. You're ready. And when you fail, you're like, okay, I haven't learned this enough. I go back and practice. When you're in an education platform, a lot of times is that you take a test and it happens to you, right? It's not because you challenge it. It happens on to you, and you just hope to survive. Even good students who are good at taking tests, they don't like tests, right? You hope to survive. And then afterwards, it just labels you like, oh, you're like a D student. You're kind of dumb. Okay, move on. We don't care if you learn or not. Just move on, move on, move on. Next chapter, right? And so you actually don't feel like you're feeling like you're learning and growing. You just feel like you're being labeled the whole time, and then it's going to screw up your future, and people are mad at you. So I think it's important, depending on if you need to label people, because some schools, they just have to, middle schools have to label, like, these are the good students, these are the bad students for the high school, and the high school for college, and college for a job. But if you don't have to label people, then it's really just about encouraging, motivating them, and making sure they actually feel good that they are learning. It's like, if you can't do well on this, if you didn't do well, you have a choice. We can just move on, or you can spend your own time, study, come back and retake the test, right? I think usually that's a good experience. People's like, okay, I care, I want to retake it, and they do well, and they feel competent. They don't feel like a loser that's just surviving through a curriculum. So those are some high-level things about experiences. I think it applies. I mean, it applies for the new generation. It applies for our generation, the old generation too. It's just the new generation have a higher requirement. The older generation, they don't have all the stimuli, all this motivation. They just kind of have discipline and persevere through everything. The new generation, every game they're playing, they're saving the world. It's giving them meaningful choices. They have TikTok. And so everything, and when they see learning platforms like, oh, compared to everything else I'm doing, this is so lame. And so you actually need to have better design to keep up with the times, basically.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, looks like our time is up, but always good to, some of you don't talk a lot, but I'm always happy to see your faces, and that relatedness, that bonding has happened just for you being there, and I see your smiles and replies. So thank you for joining our OP family, being the OP community, and see you more in the Slack community, in the comments under the videos, and of course in all the future live coaching sessions. And with that said, I will see you guys next time.